Welcome to the Irrigation Insights Podcast, where we talk about the business of irrigation. I'm your host, Jacob.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
All right, welcome to the Irrigation Insights Podcast. Today we're going to talk about marketing. Are you marketing?
You seem to be the marketing genius when it comes to this stuff, so let's get some insight on that.
All right. I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't doing any marketing currently. I see some people that say word of mouth is the best. I would say word of mouth is definitely one of the best. But they seem to rely heavily on that, and they don't spend any money on marketing. So we want to dive into this subject. How much should you spend on marketing? Are you spending anything currently? I think to figure out how much you should spend, we need to figure out how busy you are and what your booking rate is and how much you want to grow. That's going to be all things to consider.
So then where do you start?
Well, if you're busy right now, well, let's dial it back. I guess no matter how busy you are, you need to know your KPIs. You need to know what's your booking rate. Because if you're only booking 30, 40, 50% of your calls, whether you're spending any money on marketing or not, don't spend any more until you get your booking rate up over 70%. Ideally 80% is what you want. Because there's no reason to buy more leads. I see people asking, what are y'all doing for marketing? What are some other things we can do to get more leads? I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. If your booking rate is not over 70%, you don't need more leads. You need to book the leads you already have.
Yeah, because there's no point. There's no point in buying more leads if you can't book the ones that you've already got coming in.
Yeah.
You're already ad spending the leads that you're getting. Even if they're organic and they're not costing you anything, you still need to be able to book, I would at least say in the beginning, at least 60% of those. You can't be losing more than 40% of those leads.
No, absolutely not. Ideally, I mean, the largest companies are shooting for 80% booking rates, 85% booking rates.
Well, we're in the beginning here, you got to remember the audience we're targeting here. We're talking about people that are starting out, that probably don't have a lot of their, styles and ideas refined so much, So I think in the beginning, because in the beginning, most of these new guys are going to be probably sitting somewhere in a booking range of 20 to 40%, So going up to 60 is going to be a big step.
It's going to be huge.
And then once you figure out how to get to 60, getting to 70 and 80 is not that hard. It's getting from 80 to 90 is what's hard.
That's very hard. That is very hard. And you're probably not going to go from 90 to 95.
No.
Don't even try it. I mean, you can try it, but you don't waste a lot of energy on it. Yeah, I mean, if you can get to 60, 70, that's a huge jump. And a lot of you probably think, well, we're at 80 right now. We're at 70 right now. Unless you are tracking it and you know for sure, you're probably not. So get the real data. Look, if you don't have a software, pull your phone records. And then out of all the calls you got, how many of them were booked appointments? Do you have a separate line that's just for the business and personal? That would help. You should start there. Get a separate line just for the business. Track how many calls are you getting versus how many are being booked. Get your booking rate. Get that booking rate up. If your booking rate is above 70% and you're booked out only a day or two, then I think it's time to spend more on marketing. If you're booked out 7 days and your booking rate's high, you probably don't need to spend any more. You need to hire.
At that point, you need to find somebody else to work with you.
Yeah, it's time to hire.
And I think we've pretty much proven in this industry, at least for the way we do things and the customers that we get, we typically stop having success once we get past 3 days booked out. That's when we start getting a massive change in customers staying with us, wanting to cancel because somebody can get there sooner when we can. Usually most people are comfortable with waiting 2 to 3 days. Once you start pushing into 4, 5, 6 days, that's when you start getting cancellations, and that's just wasted money on leads that you don't need to have.
That's actually a great point, because our booking rate will be 80%, 85% when we can book tomorrow or the next day. But when we're booking out 7 days, that booking rate's going down. People don't want to wait. Even if you have the best system on the phone, even if you're
we have reoccurring customers that cancel on us when we're booked out more than 4 days or 3 days.
They don't want to wait.
People that love us, that have used us a bunch of times, but just because of something simple of, my backflow cracked and broke, or somebody drove off the road and ran over one of my valves, and now I've got this massive leak in my yard. I've got to have someone now. Well, we can't get there for a few days. Okay, well, I'm going to have to call someone else. It's not that they don't like us, not that they don't want to use us. They can't wait. So, and that's a lead that we lose.
Yeah.
Which, if it's a recurring customer, the good thing about the recurring customer is we didn't spend, whatever the lead cost was on Google. They called us organically, but that takes the booking rate down when they cancel.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you know what your actual booking rate is and how far are you being booked out. I see people bragging online. Oh, we stay booked out 3 weeks. That's not good.
It's not a brag.
It's not. No, you need to hire. It's time to hire, and you'll make more money when you do that. Your business will grow. If you want to grow, that's a big signal, a big red flag saying, hey, it's time to hire whenever you're booked out 3 weeks. And if you're booked out 3 weeks and your booking rate is still 30%, that's 2 big red flags saying it's time to hire.
Yeah. That means you're doing a lot of something right and a lot of other things wrong.
Yeah. So look at that. You're going to have to pause it.
I don't think that worked.
No? We still recording?
I think so. We may have to do a
timestamp.
Yeah, it's still recording.
We good?
We're good?
All right. Sorry, we got some technical issues on this episode, but I think we're back. We are. All right. Where are we at?
We had just getting done talking about who wins on Google.
Oh, yeah. Whoever can pay more wins. That's who wins. So figure out. You got to know your booking rate. The higher, the better. Whoever can pay more. What's your average ticket? What is your cost per acquisition?
And this, we're going to talk about a lot of things to help you push forward. But if there's anything in all these things, in all this advice that you can take, the one thing that you could take and get further than any other piece of advice is to focus on your average ticket. Get that where it needs to be, and everything else will follow with it.
Yeah.
Because if you can keep a high enough average ticket, the business will almost grow by itself because you'll have the money to spend to grow it. Everything will be unlocked at that point. All the other advice is stuff that you can do to just keep progressing forward and smartly spend the money that you're making by keeping your average ticket where it needs to be. If you can get your average ticket where it needs to be organically by yourself, you're going to see a lot of this stuff almost fall in with it.
Most definitely. Yeah. Average ticket, huge. Booking rate, huge. Trying to think. Those two things.
Because even if your booking rate is 20% and you're booked out for 7 weeks, even if you're doing everything wrong, if you're going out and you're averaging, $4, $5, $6, $7, maybe even $800 every time you show up, you almost won't even notice the other problems because you're making enough money to cover the issues. And then once you realize that you can capitalize on it with the money that you're making, all the other issues will slowly go away.
Yeah. You might be wondering how to get a $800 average ticket. That comes to just having a sales process. Having a good sales process, offering options. Don't be afraid to offer options. Selling is not about ripping people off, just about offering options. That's all it is. So, anyways, should you be spending money on marketing? Is your booking rate where it needs to be? How far are you booked out? If your booking rate's right, you're not booked out very far, I say it's time to spend some money on marketing. And the first place I would go is Google. Some people, like Ben said, some people go to Facebook. We haven't had much success on Facebook, not for repair work. If you can make that work, great. But we go to Google. Google LSA. That's probably number one.
You think the best way a lot of times the best way you can figure out where you need to go is think about your daily life. When you get up in the morning and you notice your toilet's running and it's not going to stop running and you've done everything you can do and it just still keeps running, what's the first thing you do? If you don't have somebody that you have already in your phone contacted or know somebody that knows somebody that you can call, the very first thing you're going to do is open your phone, go on Safari, go on Google Chrome, and you're going to type right into the search bar, plumber near me, or plumbing companies. You're going to go straight to Google. Almost nobody goes to Facebook and asks for somebody. Nobody does that. You go straight to Google, find the companies near you, start calling.
Yeah. Yeah, and a few people do that, go to groups, but man, somebody posts on a group, I need a plumber. Within 5 minutes, there's 57 comments. It's going to be hard to capture those. And I kind of wonder if those aren't, I don't even know if I want those customers that are on Facebook.
Sometimes not. It just depends on the group of people that's being targeted at that point in time.
Yeah, you got to be wary.
In this business, I've seen a lot of different customers that we get, and a lot of times, when you're scrolling through those Facebook pages, the customer you don't want is the one that's got a picture of this guy in his hand that says, "I need someone to come and replace this."
Yeah, if they've already got it taken apart and I know exactly what I need. I need somebody to come do it. No thanks. Or the guy that says, I need a reasonable irrigation guy. I need a reasonable sprinkler guy to come out to my house. I need a sprinkler guy that doesn't charge an arm and a leg.
Well,
No.
First, so there's two problems wrong with that statement. One, what are we calling an arm and a leg, and what is reasonable? Like, what are we comparing it to? Are we comparing it to the sense of somebody running around in one truck that can do a solenoid change for $10? That's nothing's going to be reasonable compared to that.
Yeah.
What is the customer standards that have already been set? If they've already been, and I tell people this all the time that give me that same answer. Well, I used to have a guy that would do it for this. Well, where's he at? Oh, I don't know. He disappeared. I wonder why.
Mm-hmm.
He either retired because he was tired of doing it, or he flipped upside down because, again, $130 pay per click. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah. As soon as we show up, we're $200 in the hole. I'm not doing that solenoid for $80. Nope.
No, sir.
We're not.
Now, if I show up and we're going to do, a couple $1,000s worth of work and this happens, yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll do it for $40-$50. Who cares? But if we're just going out, if we're getting a call or a picture or whatever, and the person's just like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is the problem. I need someone to just come and change this. Nope, no, thank you. You're already 70% through a DIY project. You need to go back to YouTube and finish the research and do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if you do want to start marketing, if you decided, okay, I do need to start marketing, it's time. There are a couple of things you can do for free. I see guys that don't even have websites, believe it or not. It's 2024. People don't have websites.
That's not, no.
It's
the most simplest thing. Everybody has a website.
Yeah, but believe it or not, there are people that have no websites.
Even celebrities and music artists that the only thing they have on their website is their next concert date and their merch. It's a website. Everybody has one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, geez, our website for this podcast is a GoDaddy website. It's not hard to set up. Ideally, you want a WordPress website.
Yes.
You want something that's going to rank locally. Every city needs to have its own page. You need a nice, well-ranking website. Like I said, city needs to have its own page. Every service needs to have its own page. Internal linking. You get a WordPress website. There are videos on YouTube on how to build it. I built my own before. You can there's a plugin called Yoast. You can download it. It'll tell you how to make each page SEO friendly, and you just follow the instructions, it'll walk you right through it. It takes a long time. I mean, I probably spent hundreds of hours building a WordPress website. But, hire a couple people when you get out of the field, work on that. Until then, you got to have a website. You need a domain name. You need to have a website because your ranking
Is everything.
Yeah, and your domain will start building, or domain authority the longer it's alive. So get your domain name, get it on Google, even with the cheapest website. Start getting that domain authority. Get a Google business profile. Set yourself up on Google. Put your website there. On Facebook, put your website there.
You know what? Hate to interrupt you, but while we're on this marketing thing and we're talking about these ad sources and websites and all these different things, if you go through, I'm sure we're going to get into Google reviews here in a minute, but one of the most simplest things you can do on your Google reviews that we see very few people doing is personalized, professional responses to all your reviews. Good, bad, in the middle, all of them.
You got to respond.
There's nothing that looks worse than you only responding to your good reviews or only responding to your bad reviews. Respond to all of them, and then the next worst thing is getting the thank you for your business or we appreciate it. Nobody wants to see that. Customers read that and they're like, okay, they're just clicking the generated responses. If you look at most of our responses, or all these some of these other good companies, and there's software that can do this stuff for you, like ChatGPT. You can write something a little more personal that makes the customer feel better, makes the customer feel like that you actually paid attention to what they said about you, that you appreciated it, and that's just another thing that you can do to just lock in that little bit of customer relations and to keep that customer.
Absolutely. You have to respond to reviews. ChatGPT makes it so easy. You just have to do it. But, yeah, make that business profile. These freaking dogs, man.
Yeah, we see these companies all the time. We get customers that come over saying, yeah, I've got an appointment with another company, but they can't get here for 3 weeks. And we're like, oh, well, we can get here in 2 days. Okay. And then they book with us.
Yeah.
And that's a lead that they lost that we gained.
Yeah.
And that happens across the board, really. It probably happens to us, too. It happens to everybody.
Oh, it definitely happens.
Even if it's on just same-day service, Same-day service is a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal is to be able to offer same-day service. The largest companies in every industry are offering same-day service. Call the biggest company in your city, in any industry. I'm willing to bet you they can get somebody out here today, if not tomorrow morning. They're not waiting. You're not waiting 3 weeks to get a plumber out if you call the biggest plumber in your city.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They don't want to lose that lead because the other industries, plumbing and HVAC, their Google leads cost way more than our sprinkler leads do.
Yeah, big time.
They can't afford to lose those leads just because they have to make you wait for 2 days. That's why they have that many people working for them.
Yeah. Think about this: the biggest company. Who's the biggest company in your city? And then who charges the most? It's probably the same company.
And it will be every time.
Yeah.
That's how they have that ability to come same day.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, if we're touching into, well, I guess we can save that for another day. Keep going on with the marketing strategies.
Yeah, if you know your booking rate, you know how far you're booked out, you need to know your cost per acquisition. If a lead is, let's say it's $10, but you're only booking 50%, I'm trying to do this math in my head, well then your cost per acquisition would be, what's that, $20? Because you're only booking 5 out of 10. It costs you 10 to get every call. It's $10 per lead. You're only booking 5 out of 10, so that means it's $20 per customer. But really, we're dealing with like $40 per lead, 80% booking rate. So typically, I actually have this report here from our marketing agency where I did have a report here somewhere. Here it is. This is our PPC cost. Cost per click, $24.64. Cost per conversion, cost per acquisition, $127.28. That's
So,
what it.
so now what is that? What does the cost per acquisition mean?
That's what it costs to acquire a customer. $127.28.
That's what it costs once they've booked with us, confirmed their appointment.
Yep, $128. So if you're showing up and making less than $128, you've literally lost money. $128 is your break even. And really, it's more than that. You have to factor in the fuel, the labor to go out there,
The insurance,
everything. So
all your overheads. Really, it's probably costing you about $300 to $400 just
Yeah.
to show up.
you got to make at least, you need an average ticket of $300 to $400, especially if you're running ads on Google.
Yeah, that's just if you're running ads on Google and not anywhere else.
Yeah. That was Google PPC. Google LSA, $38 a lead. PPC's a little cheaper cost per click. This stuff's expensive. I mean, that's why I say you have to figure out what's your booking rate, what's your conversion rate before you even think about buying more leads, marketing.
Yeah, and you know, this is another subject too for another day. You know, you get so many customers when you hit them at your price, and they're like, "Well, I don't understand why a sprinkler head is $80. It's I can go to Home Depot and I can get it for $5." Well, once you get done factoring in, you know, regular stuff that they can understand, you know, you can tell them gas, and they'll say, "Well, gas is not that expensive." Well, you can say insurance, you can say all these things, but I would favor to guess that, you know, more than 70% or 80% of the people you deal with on a daily basis don't know that it costs you money for them to click on your ad. I tell people all the time, it's $130. It ends up being about $130 just for you to click our ad and call the number. That's $130. Even if you just call and don't make an appointment, that costs us $130. Right there, gone. So, you know, a lot of times you start telling people that, well, I didn't know things costed. Well, I mean, how do you think the world works? You know, just the way it is.
Yeah, you can't just be on Google for free. Not if you want to show up at the top. Google's the most expensive real estate in the world. If you want to be up there, you're going to be paying that money, and you can't just show up and do a $20 sprinkler head.
No.
You're going to go out of business real quick.
Yeah, if you're trying to use Google to scale you, those prices for these leads will kill you.
Yeah, you're going to drown real fast. You have to make sure your prices are right.
And that's another issue we had in the beginning is Google. Google's like anything else in the world. It's money hungry. So if you are trying to be number one, you're not going to be number one if you don't tell them that you have an ad budget, right? If you have an ad budget where it's like, okay, I only want to spend, you know, X amount of dollars on ads and then taper it off. You know, the next time when you spend that money and it's time for you to start again, they're not going to prioritize you. They're going to prioritize the other person that has no budget. And if you do that and you're down on your prices aren't up there to match it, these leads cost you money and you don't have a budget, you're going to run up a pretty good ad bill real fast.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll be drowning very quickly in that sense too, because you're not going to want to, they're going to tell you to not use the budget, but you need the budget or you're going to go out of business immediately with the ad spend.
Yep. Whoever can pay more per lead will win. If you can, it's $128 per acquisition, $25 per click. That's what we're paying. If you can't afford to pay that, I'll beat you every time because I can pay more than you per lead. Now, if you can pay more than me per lead, you'll beat me. That's just how it works. If you can pay more per customer than me, and you can afford to, you'll win because you can just keep on bidding. And this all comes down to what's your average ticket? Do you have other services that you can cross-sell?
Do you have memberships you can offer to keep the customer once you have them?
Do you have memberships? That's how you figure out what can I pay to acquire a customer. If your average ticket's $180, all you do is irrigation, $180. You show up, you pay $130 to acquire a customer, show up, charge $180 and leave. You're never going to win.
No, you're actually never going to do anything.
Yeah, you're going to lose money. And we're going to smoke you all day, every day. So that's just how it is. Yeah, you can't do it. You can't do it that way. You can't play on Google, and Google is where everybody's at.
Yep.
You have to change the way you do things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of controversy on social media advertising, but the thing about social media advertising that makes it tricky is nobody goes to Facebook and just searches Facebook for sprinkler repair. People don't do that. What they do is they go to their local Facebook groups and they ask people what companies have they had experiences with. With Google, you're going straight to Google. You're looking for what you want. Google's going to show you what you want, and that's where you're going to go. On Facebook, they're just going to be looking at a specific group.
I don't remember what we were talking about. We recording?
Yes.
All right. I don't remember what we were talking about. I just had so many disruptions here.
Yep.
But I think we're talking about just free things. Setting up your business profile. You can, once you got your website, setting up your business profile. All that's free. Directories. You can go on like manta.com. Bright Local. That's not quite free, but you can just pay for it once.
Was that database management?
They're like directories. So once you have your business profile, your Google business profile, on there you'll put your name, address, phone number, website. You put all that on your Google business profile. Then you go to like Bright Local, and it'll create a bunch of directories for you and push all that information out to hundreds of websites like Yelp, Angie's List, but also a bunch of them you never even heard of, hundreds. But that'll give you backlinks to your website, and it helps with your SEO, helps you get ranking, and it makes sure all of the information is the same. And there's tons of websites you never even heard of that, yellow pages, white page, so many different things. And you would look at the list and be like, who even goes here? And probably nobody. But those websites have domain authority, and that's what Google wants to see, backlinks from other websites that have domain authority. So Bright Local is a good one to do that, to get your Google business profile, help that get ranked, and set your business profile up in a good city that actually has work. I see guys they set it up like at their house, way out in the country. Rent an office.
Yeah, no. If you live in a rural area, nobody's looking for irrigation repair. 30 miles from a major city.
Yeah, unless that's just where you want to work,
Yeah, by all means, if you're doing aerobic systems, if you're doing big properties, by all means do it. But what's the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to market yourself in a highly populated area where there's a higher chance of getting more leads.
Yeah, and it makes sense to rent an office. If you can pick up an office, even a small, let's say you rent an office for $1,200 a month, $1,500 a month, just so you can get the address in that city. You do a couple of extra critical things like going to Bright Local, getting reviews on that business profile, uploading pictures, making posts, get that business profile to rank. The free calls you'll get from that profile are going to more than pay for the rent. If the rent's $1,500, but your average ticket is $400, if your average ticket is $400, you only need 4 free calls off that profile
to pay for that office.
So don't put your address 30 miles outside the city. Put it right in the middle of the city. Find the cheapest place you can rent right in the middle of the city, and do that.
Yeah, because Google won't let you do PO boxes anymore, so you have to do an actual physical address, even if it's even if it's a little 3-room, just office space, in a centrally located area. That centrally located area, because that's another big thing that you got to remember too. When people search, any kind of home service on Google, the first thing they're going to look at is, obviously the first 2 things that pop up, and then they're going to scroll, and then what's the next thing Google going to show them?
It's going to show them the maps.
The map.
The first section is the LSA ads, which I've shown you here for us is about $39 a lead, $40 a lead. The next one is probably going to be the maps. If you're on desktops, you might see pay-per-click. But then you got the map listing, and those are proximity based. The results change depending on where the searcher is in relevance to where your business is, which is why you need in a high population area, not way out. So be strategic. Maybe look and see where are your competitors. Are they close? Maybe I want to be away from them, but still in a good area. Think about that. It's worth spending some money on. If you can get 30 free calls a month, 60 free calls a month.
They just paid for everything you did and then some.
Yep. And what's your, back to your average ticket. What's your average ticket? It's $400. Why not? Why not? Why would you not do that? The rent is no factor.
Yeah, some of the money that you spend is irrelevant.
Yeah. People look at marketing like it's a cost, but really it should work like I put $1 in, I get $10 back. I put $1 in, I get $5 back. That's marketing. Marketing is not an expense. It is an investment.
Yeah, an expense is buying another vehicle.
Yeah, that's an expense.
Because yes, the vehicle does pay for itself, but it doesn't generate.
Yeah, and all business is really is just one big formula. One big formula. We're just piecing it all together. So there's a couple of free ways. I mean, once you have your website, once you got your business profile, go to Bright Local. It's not necessarily free, a couple $100. Pump that out there. Facebook, YouTube. You can work on that SEO yourself. You can hire somebody. Be wary about who you hire. Definitely need to do some research.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
That's
a whole nother episode just on people.
Yeah, I've been through some bad marketing agencies. We have a good one now, I think. I like them a lot. You don't want somebody too cheap. Anybody promising you results for $1,000 a month, just don't even talk to them. It's going to cost more than that. But you also need to see results. If they're not going to show you the data that they're doing, they're not going to show you their improvements. They're not printing you off reports. I would be wary of them.
And this is we're kind of getting to the end of this, but the last goal to get in marketing and advertising, which is the hardest goal to get, is to get to a point where you have brand recognition, where your name is so well known. The final goal is to move away from Google.
Definitely.
Don't want to have to depend on Google, because Google only goes up. Google's hard to work with most of the time, and it's just not. You want people to call your company because they know your company and they like your company. You don't want them calling your company because you were the first one that they found on Google. When you get to a point where people are calling you for you, that's when you're going to notice a change in your customer base and a change in how everything operates.
Yeah, Google is a means to an end, or you use it for capacity planning. If you can keep 8 guys busy without Google, but you have 4 other guys that need to stay busy also, that's where Google comes in. But you don't, we use it to grow, but you don't want to depend on it. It should not.
Yeah, and then on top of everything else, it's too up and down. 1 week you'll spend X amount of dollars, and the next week it'd be double that. It just depends on how well it worked, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And Google always gets their money.
Yeah, always. Even if you don't, they will.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But, don't be scared of it. Just
something else you should throw in there that you learned in the beginning. So there's a thing that you can do to dispute leads that you didn't close on.
Oh, Google, LSA is actually doing that automatically now. You can't even dispute them anymore.
Oh, okay.
But they're doing it automatically, which has, I've gotten thousands of dollars a month in credits. So that's been pretty nice. But you can't.
But yeah, in the beginning, that was an issue.
Yeah, you had to do it manually.
Well, it also hurt you too, because you were contradicting Google, and they were like, well, if you just want all your money back, we're not going to prioritize.
Yeah, and they were, dispute too many, and then all of a sudden I wouldn't be getting as many leads, but they would say, disputes don't have any effect on how many leads you get. That doesn't affect the algorithm. But I'm like, well, I don't know. Seems kind of odd that after I just disputed 30 leads, I stopped showing up.
Yeah.
That seems weird, but that's how Google plays. It also seems odd that we were showing up number 2 in LSA, and then I started spending $10,000 a month on PPC, and then our LSA went up. You know?
Yeah, because you spend more money.
Yeah. So I spent money in a different area on Google, and they were like, "Oh, here, let's increase you in some other areas."
Yep.
Google's fishy. They're playing some weird games.
And you have to be able to afford to play the game.
Yeah, you got to be able to play the game.
And you can't do that with a $50 average ticket. It's just not going
No.
to happen.
This is how you grow. You know, you got to ask yourself, do you want to grow? I mean, how else do you grow? You know, like if you're not going to get on Google where everybody is.
You can't grow. The only way you can grow is organically, and that takes too long.
It takes too long. Yeah, I mean, there's still people that are 15 years in business, smaller than we are.
Yeah, and they just now got a guy to work with them.
Yeah, it takes way too long.
Yeah.
No, we don't have that. We don't have that long to wait. Well, I mean, as far as that goes, I think that's about it for today. We got some questions.
Any questions or stuff we found on Facebook?
Yeah, questions other people ask people on Facebook.
Okay.
We're going to answer it for them. First question here. Any of you guys have experience with SEO? How is your experience, and would you say it's worth the money? How does it compare to other forms of marketing for leads, compared to Yelp, Thumbtack, Angie's List, Home Advisor, and such? That same thing we were just talking about. SEO, I don't even know. People always talk about SEO like it's... Here's the thing. People always talk about SEO like they think about it whenever they're slow. They slow down, and then they're like, I need to do some type of marketing. What about SEO? What if I just call an SEO guy? He can get me more leads. That's not the way SEO works. SEO is a long play. And you need the best time to start on it was 6 months ago. The second best time is right now. You can't just decide, I'm a little slow, let me go get an SEO guy, and that'll bring in more work. It's not going to work. You got to do it for years and years. But it is important. You need to be doing it. All these other ones, Thumbtack, Angie's List, Home Advisor, these are just pay per lead services. Yelp.
Now, see, we didn't have the best experience with Angie's List.
I didn't have good experience with it. I've never paid for Yelp, and I won't. Thumbtack, Angie's List. Angie's List was okay, but now they've been bought out by Home Advisor. We did it before they were bought out.
Yeah.
These are just pay per lead services, and I don't like them. I wouldn't do them. I would go to Google. I would do Google pay-per-click. I would do Google LSA. I would hire somebody that specializes in Google.
If you can work Google and keep your ad spend up and keep yourself in the top 1 position in your area, people go to these services, when they can't find anybody.
Yeah. I mean, these are junk.
There's very few people that go straight to these services. Now, there's a couple of decent ones like Good Contractors List, a couple of places like that where people do go to immediately. But a lot of times, most people go straight to their phone, go straight to Google, and pick somebody there. Most of the time, it's only when they can't find anyone on Google that they like or trust, or they go somewhere like this. And we got very few leads off of these things. Very few.
Yeah. Yeah. If you need leads like that, Search Kings would be a good company. You could reach out to them. They're out of Canada. They can get you set up on LSA. They can run your pay-per-click. And they specialize in Google. They're a premier partner. I've used Search Kings before. I'm with a different agency now that does a lot more. But Tommy Mello recommends Search Kings. Lorne, I think is his name, the founder or the CEO. Yeah, I will contact them. Instead of don't mess with any of this. Just
these companies are in business for a reason.
Yeah, because, I mean, the leads might be, like pay-per-click, we're at $25 basically per lead, $128 per conversion. That's the same thing you're going to pay on Angie's List, $25, $30 per lead, except they're going to send it to 5 other people. Why, just do it on Google where they're going straight to your website. Don't play around with that stuff.
Waste of money. Next.
All right, this is a long one. I want to start scaling up a little. Not crazy, but maybe 1 truck per year. I'm 63 years old and want to get to the size where I can sell off the business for something reasonable. I have 1 van and 2 guys and want to focus on filling up our calendar.
Every week. I need to get my operation to run more like a serious operation. It's running loose-goosey right now. I have a few questions for those who have made the leap from getting your hands in the trenches to more of a management CEO capacity. 1, was it worth getting bigger? 2, did you hire someone to answer calls? 3, did you give employees company credit cards? 4, did you use a mentor such as online materials and checklists? This is a big one. This is a very, very, very big topic. Well,
the 63 years old.
That's
only has 2 guys.
Yeah, that's the first problem. The second problem, and this is something, I'm going to go ahead and share our experience with this, but this is something I would like to hear from other people as we bring them in, maybe get some feedback from the audience at some point. 2 people in a truck, that never works for us. Not enough to make it worth it. In that sense.
Not consistently,
not enough to be worth it. Because, if you're talking, and that all depends on what you're paying. If you're paying them hourly, I could see how that might work. But if you're paying them any kind of commission and salary base, it just doesn't work. Because if you're talking about, if you're on a 15 or a 20% commission rate or whatever your commission rate may be for that, if your average ticket's $400, or $300, that's $1,200 in one day if you're running 4 jobs or whatever else you're running. Those 2 guys are having to split that percentage. Unless you're doing some type of cut percentage where, okay, this is the senior tech, he gets the bigger percentage, this one gets a smaller percentage. It's just, I haven't seen, unless you're paying, unless these guys are getting paid some kind of crappy hourly rate to do this, or they're running, they're working their ass off all day long, every day, 7 to 7, running all these different jobs, and they're pulling, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a day because they're working so much and they can get it done fast. I could see that. But the problem with that is you're going to have, the world's changing. You're going to have very few people that want to work sun up to sundown for just that little bit of money. It's not sustainable. Eventually that guy's going to wake up and think, I want to live my life at some point. So it's not sustainable. It's not good for anybody's health. It's not good for a management position, because if you're working sun up to sundown, you've got to be ready to be on that phone from 7 to 7 because these guys are working. Something could happen. The customer could get mad. The customer might want to talk to you. You're going to have to be ready from those hours. You're going to end up working those hours, if not an hour more on each end. Get up at 6, make sure you're ready to get everything done. Stay up till 8 in case the guy runs late. The customer has an issue with it. You're going to end up working an hour longer. You're going to end up working 2 hours longer than them just because you're going to have to be there on both ends in case there's an issue. What if the guy leaves his house at 7 o'clock? You're going to have to be up at 6. Because what if he calls you at 6:30 because he decided he wanted to get up, and go get gas and go get breakfast? What if he gets in a wreck? And what if the van doesn't start? Or what if all these what ifs that you got to be ready for? Mm-hmm. And if you're not ready for those what ifs when you're running a schedule like that, that what if that you're not ready for is going to cost you an appointment. Because now, if you blow out a tire, now you got to go get a tire, or truck breaks down, now you got to get it towed, now you got to find another vehicle to put them in, or you got to cancel all these appointments. You're going to have to be ready for those what ifs. To me, it's just not sustainable.
Yeah, 2 guys I don't like 2 guys in 1 truck.
Focusing on, filling our calendar every week, that's a decent goal. That cuts back to what we were talking about, being booked out for too long. That's really not something you want. Really, ideally, you want to be able to offer same-day service if the person calls. The next thing, I want to run it like it's a more serious operation. Why? I would question why it just became serious.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, why
It's
is
a
it?
little, just a little too late. Now, 63 years old, I get it. Ready to be a more management CEO capacity style. You get old, you don't want nobody wants to do this stuff when they're 60. Nobody. I'm just
Here's the
wondering.
thing about that. Why, like our last episode built this up, why is it so critical to do this early? Because at 63 years old, with him and 2 guys, 1 van, this business is worth nothing. You might think some people get to this level and they think, I want to sell, like this guy. He's like, I want to get ready to sell. I'm about ready to retire. It's not worth anything. It's literally worth. It's worth whatever you have in equipment. It's worth your 1 van. It's worth some tools, some inventory. So let's say you got a van. I mean, we're talking, a van, tools, inventory. We're looking at like 20,000 right there. Let's say you got 10,000 customers in a database. That's worth a little bit of money, but it's not retirement money. It's not
Yeah.
$1 million.
And the phone number.
And a phone number, yeah. You got your phone number. It's but if he's been doing this for 30 years, he's probably a lot of people would get there and think like, I want like $1 million off this. You're not going to get $1 million. You're going to get 50,000, 100,000. You get $100,000, and that sucks.
Yeah, you might be able to live off that. That might last you a year and a half in this day and age.
Yeah,
If you're smart sparingly.
yeah,
And you don't have a bunch of overhead that you've accrued in your own personal life. Yeah, this business is worthless now. And to grow 1 truck a year is not difficult, but you're going to have to fix all the stuff on the back end, and it's going to become a pretty heavy job. To transform this from what it is. And here's another problem with this too. Depending on how these 2 guys work, now he's about to go to them and say, hey, we got to tighten up. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. That attitude and workplace change might drive them guys off. Now you're talking about having to rehire 2 different guys that can actually do the tasks that you're going to put in front of him. There's a lot of things that get set in a situation like this that are not easily repairable.
yeah. So he's asking, was it worth getting bigger, or did it create more headaches? Getting bigger always creates more headaches.
That's a
gets
given.
you more is more of everything. More money, more headaches, more freedom, more problems.
Yep.
What's the second question? Did you hire somebody to answer the calls, schedule jobs,
And collect money. You should be collecting money on site.
Technicians are collecting money. Different people answering calls.
Yep.
Did you give your employees company credit cards so they can get gas and vehicle stuff?
Okay, so this is another thing too. Yes, company credit cards. Why? How are we getting gas? If they don't have company credit cards, how are they getting gas? Are we making the guys pay for the gas that they spend? No, that's an issue. If you can't trust your guys with a company credit card, why'd you hire them? That's the first problem right there. Second off, credit card to keep the vehicle stocked. Why do we not have a commercial account set up with our suppliers? Why are we not getting the best deals with the suppliers? We have an account. Let the guys now. This creates another thing, and that's going to come into inventory checks. When you're just letting your guys go to the suppliers and stock their trucks, get the things that they need, they're going to overbuy things. They're going to miss things. They're going to lose things. You're going to lose money here until you can get to a point where you can afford to put everything in a warehouse, get your guys coming to a central place where you control the inventory. Mm-hmm. Until then, you're gonna lose money on inventory here, and that's just going to be one of the things. But why are we trying to use a credit card to stock a vehicle? We should have a commercial account set up with a line of credit, but we can't get a line of credit because we've got no value in our business here. So those problems are going to go hand in hand. We got no value. Nobody's going to offer you a line of credit if your business is worthless.
Yeah, you might be able to get one.
So then you have to get a line of credit on your own personal line.
Well, he might be able. I mean, I just meant the parts house might give him one.
Yeah,
they might be able to give him one. But really, I mean, if his guys have a good attitude, this could be turned around. You're gonna have to put. I mean,
it's gonna be probably he'll be 65 before he starts growing a truck per year. It's going to take him probably 2 years to get everything straightened up. Because here's the problem with this. If he's just running loose, the customers he have are probably used to specific prices, and to make some of these changes, prices are probably going to have to go up.
Oh, they're going to have to go up, sure, yeah.
So that's going to be another headache in itself.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to get a manual. You need manuals in place. You need technician manuals, operation manuals, rules that they follow.
Goals that they have and mindsets that they have to be preset and created.
Yeah, there has to be a structure that your guys operate under. And then, I mean, you need a software. You need somebody answering the phones. I mean, you can grow 1 truck per year. You can grow 10 trucks per year. Once you have a structure, you need a business structure. Yeah, CRM, somebody answering the phones. A manual to make sure everybody's following the rules.
Yeah, so we have a couple comments that
price book.
We got one comment here that's worth something, and then the other ones are just pretty much making fun of them. Here we've got, in my opinion, you should never start a service business with the goal of selling it.
I don't agree.
You build up a customer base through good work and referrals for years. If your only goal is profit and wanting to sell, your customers' employees will suffer.
Now, you got to build it with a goal, not necessarily the goal of selling it. You just have to build it to be able to sell it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the goal of selling it.
Yeah, you don't build it to want to sell it. You build it to where it's
sellable.
This is where it comes down to this one is this guy's telling him pretty much at 63, you just need to scale down and retire. In my experience when selling a business, the main thing they want is your customer list. Sometimes they want some of your equipment and some of your people, but without your customer list, your business is worthless.
Well, you do have to have a customer list or it's worthless. But
then same thing here. Selling client list means nothing. It's worth nothing. Anyone can steal them or customers go elsewhere. Your equipment, employees, and reputation is what you are selling, which is worthless essentially.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The businesses have multiples. The bigger your business is, the bigger the multiple. And they're going to look at EBITDA. So if you're doing this guy, there's nothing. He's probably only doing with 2 guys, $500,000 in revenue,
If that's gross revenue.
Yeah, gross revenue. But let's say you're doing $100,000 in profit. Nobody's gonna buy it. Let's picture a big business like $5 million in gross revenue, $500,000 a year. Let's say $1 million a year. This is 20%, even numbers. $1 million a year in EBITDA. Basically, roughly net profit. If you have that at that size, that business is pretty much running itself. So then somebody will look at that EBITDA of $1 million and pay you a multiple of that. And I've talked to the guy that owns Andy's, or the guy who works for the company that bought Andy's. He said for the irrigation, they're typically seeing like a ×5 multiple. So if you have a $1 million EBITDA, you sell it for about $5 million. But if you have recurring services, you have other things like that.
Yeah, reoccurring revenue is worth money.
You can get up to like a ×7, ×8 multiple. And then if you're over 10 million, 12 million in revenue, you can get ×10 multiple. So it's not just customer list. It's they want the asset. They want the business. People, who cares about a customer list? I mean, the people talking about customer list, they're only talking about if you got one guy in a truck. I mean, yeah, you might pay like $50,000 for a customer list or a phone number, maybe. That's not what these big companies want. They want an operation that runs itself.
You take this one.
All right. What do you guys use for billing and keeping receipts? 3rd year on my own business and just keeping all of my receipts and everything by hand on Google Sheets and just starting to blow up where it's getting annoying. Any suggestions would be great. See, that's what I'm saying. 3 years, still no CRM. Jobber would do it, QuickBooks. Yeah. I mean, we do everything on QuickBooks. Get an accountant. Get a bookkeeper. Why are you still doing that? I think. Really, it would be better just to get a bookkeeper.
Yeah,
Don't.
and that's the first comment. Get the cheapest QuickBooks plan. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, there you go. Get a bookkeeper.
At
Pay
three
him monthly.
at 3 years in business, you shouldn't have a box of receipts that you're having to go through a couple times a week to keep up with what you're doing.
No, and I'm saying that because I did that for too long. You gotta, as the business owner, you gotta stop doing the low end work because it's not going to get you anywhere. Just pay an accountant. Let them do it. The QuickBooks ties into your bank accounts, your credit cards.
Yes, focus on growing the business, not keeping it running.
Yeah, stop doing
When you
all
grow
that
the
little
business,
stuff.
you can afford to pay people to keep it running. And then as a business owner, you focus on growing it, getting it there where it can essentially run by itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working for someone or you're the person that does this, if you're micromanaging every single thing that goes on, your business is usually not successful. You've got your hand in way too many places.
Yeah, you got to delegate.
Okay, so go to this one. Hello, does anyone recommend a good marketing team? I'm in the Dallas area and want to start showing on Google. That's going to be for you.
Yeah, this one. I would say, yeah, Search Kings. I'm going to go back to Search Kings. I think because they're affordable and they're good. I mean, they're a premier partner. They're in Canada. You don't have to, when it comes to this stuff, you don't have to go local. Marketing agencies are not, even accountants, things like this, professional services are not, you don't have to go local. So go, expand, look in different states. I hired Search Kings. They were in Canada. I've hired multiple companies out of Canada to do different things. I have companies in several states doing different things. I look for the person that's going to do the best. I want to see who's going to do the best. I don't care where they are, what time zone. I don't really, that's who I want to hire. So that's what I would do. I would contact Search Kings. They're good for Google.
So this would be a good one. This guy, essentially, this is first year in business for himself, and he wants to grow. He wants to scale. He wants to offer more services, and he's trying to figure out if he should start fresh with a whole nother business or if he wants to maybe buy a separate business to run it, or if he, maybe even get his, current client list to help move him forward.
Yeah. That's a lot of services. I wonder how first year in business. I would just focus on one service. I mean, that's
One service in the beginning is hard to sustain a profit on, but the thing about one service is you get to develop that perfection. You get to fine tune everything. Your head's not in a bunch of different places it don't need to be. And eventually what it ends up being is you're doing so many things that you can't keep up with all of them, so everything just kind of gets slapped around, All right, just kind of do this and do this instead of you don't have time to sit there and think, how can I make this one business grow as far as I can? Once you grow your first service to the full extent of where it needs to be, that's when you think about, okay, let's open another division. Let's do something else now.
yeah, definitely.
Once you got to get it to a point where it can drive itself.
Yeah, doing.
And if you're still sitting there, micromanaging all the little things, all the back end stuff that you should be paying people to do, you're not ready to open another service because you're still barely floating the service that you have right now.
That's a great point. Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, if you're still doing all the admin work, taking calls, there's no way you're going to be able to do pesticide, lawn maintenance, irrigation, hardscape. It's too much.
You're either going to have to, because you'll end up you're going to end up having to pay somebody to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would not. I agree with you. The guy who posted this, I wouldn't want one crew doing it all. I would want it separated out.
No, you'd have to separate. You'd have to have each crew. You're never going to find a crew of 6 or 7 guys that can do everything.
Yeah. Man, I he's talking about buying a business. I mean, I don't know if that's even if you have the funds for that. You got to be careful about buying a business. There are people that know how to do that the right way. There's a right way and a wrong way to buy a business. The wrong way is to walk into somebody's office, hand them a bunch of money, and say thank you for your business. That's not how you do that. So, yeah, you may not go that route. You don't just buy somebody's business outright and leave, send them on their way. So, I would be wary of that. Start fresh. Put the money in marketing. Build your own brand. What do you got here? It's the last one.
Angie's List again.
Oh, somebody wanting.
So I tried Angie's Leads in the past with no success, and I've heard Yelp is also a waste of money. What's y'all's opinion on Google services for advertisements?
Okay. Yeah, Angie's and Yelp don't do it. Google's king. That's where everybody is. There's still so many people not on there. I really don't know how. I don't get that. That's where everybody is. That's where everybody's going. If you got a service business, you have to be on Google. You got to be showing up. You need to be ranking on there. You need to be getting reviews, posting pictures. People do it on TikTok, but they don't do it on Google. I see people doing it on, TikTok, Instagram. It's like, cool, I guess.
And this is where, I'm sitting here reading some of these comments, and, it's not that I disagree with what they're saying, not that I disagree with their mindset, but if your goal is to scale away from a small business to an integrated, incorporated business, you got to leave these mindsets behind. Word of mouth. I don't advertise. The best advertisement is a customer willing to totally vouch for you. That's correct. It's a terrible mindset to carry with. Do good work and you won't have to advertise.
Yeah, correct, but not a good.
Yeah, correct, but not a good leg to stand on, essentially. Local Facebook communities and word of mouth. There's so many people that still use, strategies from 20, 30 years ago. And they still today are still good strategies. But, if that's all that they're using, you're only going to scale so much from that. You're only going to scale so much from that.
Yeah.
And especially, and this guy is probably explaining what's actually going on. You guys must be in highly competitive areas. If you're in a highly competitive area, you can't rely on word of mouth. You'll never get anywhere because you'll have so many people, that move into the area. In the areas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where we're from, there's probably 100 houses getting sold a week or a day, if not a day.
I mean,
we got people moving in from different states, people moving from different cities, people moving out. There's people that are going to show up that they don't know people here. How are they going to get word of mouth? They don't know anybody. If they have an issue, they're going to go to Google. They're going to go to Google every time.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they won't go to Angie's List or like I'm seeing Nextdoor. Nextdoor is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I'm seeing it. Not to say that they won't go to these services, but Google's going to be one of the first places they go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And people aren't. There's so many things there. Facebook. Yeah. People aren't even talking to their neighbors, really. I don't even know I think Google's going to be relied on more and more.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else. Totally slipped my mind. B&I groups, that's not a bad way to build some relationships.
No. Yeah, here again, word of mouth will bring you all you can handle.
Yeah, no, it's just not going to. Word of mouth just takes too long. And like I said, even on Facebook, as soon as somebody asks on a Facebook group, I need a sprinkler guy, any recommendations?
There's 100 in 3 minutes.
Yeah, there's so many. How are you going to get word of mouth that way? Even if you have somebody commenting for you. If you want to wait 10 years to grow, and you want to be like the guy who's 63 and has 2 vans.
Yeah. You gotta really barrel down. If you're trying, once again, we come back to the original topic. If you're trying to build a successful, valuable business, something you can be proud of, carry a legacy for you, something that you can enjoy to have watched it grow into what it was. You have to work hard, you have to scale, you have to spend the money on marketing, you have to do all these things. If you're just trying to work for yourself, maybe have one other person work with you, retire at your own schedule, then that stuff's okay. You have to decide, which I would favor to guess that if you're watching this, you've already decided that that's not for you. You're ready to go to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't be nervous. I mean, shoot, the people I got hooked on Google, they're hooked on it now.
Yep.
Like Ben and Jared and all those guys, they were all nervous. I would tell them, like, oh, yeah, I'm spending like, $20,000 a month on Google, $30,000. And they're like, oh, my God, I'm not doing that. And I just get on there and try to spend a little bit, see how you like it. And now they're in it. They're not stopping.
Yeah, you can't. That's where most of your leads are going to come from.
Yeah.
Probably 70 or 80% of our leads come from Google.
Yeah, now they see it. They understand. Once you figure out how to make it work.
And there's still like so many things like getting Google verified, all that stuff. It's all important things that you have to do.
Yeah.
To get ranked.
Yeah, there's probably, I wonder how many irrigation companies there are doing residential stuff in Dallas, in DFW.
Probably, big companies are like
just any doing residential.
Probably 15 to 20.
Oh, there's got to be more than that.
I mean, there probably is, but I mean, just people you're going to find on Google.
Oh, yeah, on Google, yeah. No, they're on Google. Oh, especially on LSA, the verified, the Google guaranteed, it's...
I see guys...
7.
I see one guy in just a truck, I see a new chuck in a truck, essentially, type guy once a week, throwing some sprinkler heads in,
Yeah.
No license, no stickers, just out there working. And, those guys, and they're not the worst people in the world because they're the guys that keep you from having to do head changes all the time, but they're also not hurting you in the sense of they're not growing. Because if you stop and talk to that one guy, he'll tell you that he's booked out for 2 weeks because he's just that cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not going to hinder you.
No.
They don't answer their phone.
Yeah.
Their voicemail's full. They call back who they want to call back, when they decide they're going to call you back. Yeah, that guy's not stopping anybody. We're trying to get more people to get away from that.
We're trying to help the people that get away from that and try to scale but don't know how. So instead of trying to learn how to scale correctly, they just charge a cheaper price and hope to get more leads off of it. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
The only thing you do by lowering your price is increasing your conversion rate, but your conversion rate is useless if the other numbers don't go with it.
Yeah. If you're charging cheap, doing 9 jobs a day, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, your conversion rate on those 9 jobs can be 100%, but if your total revenue off of the 9 jobs was $800, you got nowhere. You went backwards.
Yeah.
And you worked 9 jobs all day long. 9 appointments. You went to 9 appointments. You probably worked sun up to sundown for just a little bit of money, but the conversion rate's good. But not in this sense, it's not.
Yeah, and that won't work on Google. Not if you're paying $130 for each of those customers. You would 9 jobs times 130.
You would be better off having, a 30% conversion rate off of a bunch of jobs, but that one job netted you $1,800 or $3,000, something like that. Your conversion rate is probably one of the last things you should worry about. If you can get your average closed sale up, that would be important. Average closed sale, total daily revenue, conversion rate.
Yeah.
But I guess you have to start with a booking rate first.
Yeah.
If you can't make the revenue if the leads aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we're talking about in this sense right here with leads. Getting leads, getting the booking rate up off the leads once they get there.
Yep. Well, I think that's it for today.
Yep, I think so. We will catch y'all on the next episode.
See you next week.